There we go.
You live?
We are. Hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, my name is Jennifer Hargreaves and I am the founder of Tellent. Tellent is an online resource for professional women to pursue career and life ambitions through access to flexible work. We run live streams about once a month and we have guest speakers talking to us about specific issues that affect your development and your career path, and we just hope to bring you some information and some guidance to help you work through it. So thank you for joining us. If you have any questions at all throughout the live stream, please do ask them in the comment box. This is a safe spot. It's a judgment-free zone. We're having a conversation, and basically we're inviting you to join the conversation with us tonight. So super safe. So with that, we'll get started. So tonight I'm here with Rachel Weinstein, and we're talking about how to develop your personal brand and how to promote yourself. Mm-hmm. And I know this is a really tricky subject for a lot of women, and Rachel's very qualified to talk to us about that. So with that, I'll just let Rachel practice the art of self-promotion and introduce herself.
Thanks, Jennifer. So I'm an executive coach, also called a leadership coach or a career coach, and I work with really ambitious professionals in all kinds of industries, men and women, and I help leaders be as effective as they can in their role and do amazing things to move their organizations forward. I work with individuals to forward their career ambitions, and anything from lawyer who wants to be a chef or lawyer who wants to be a better lawyer. Both of those things are equally fun to work with, and I just I help kind of uncover for people what's holding them back and helping them envision really amazing futures, and we walk in that direction together.
Perfect. Sounds like you're the right person to be talking to us tonight anyway. So let's start by talking about why we're having this conversation in the first place. So why do women struggle with self-promotion? They struggle with the self-promotion, how to ask for things, or how to negotiate based on what they deserve. What's that all about?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of elements there, but the first piece I think about promoting themselves, that some version of, hey, I'm here and I'm really great. I think it comes from, I don't really know where it comes from, but let me give you an example of how women hold back. In school, for example, girls, maybe it's easier to behave, but we know that when we do sit still and put in the effort and do well and write the paper and pay attention to the instructions and hand it in, we are praised. We are praised by the teachers and we get ahead, and we're identified for the gifted program. Or if we work really hard in soccer and the coach is watching us, they're gonna put us on a different line if we're doing really well. Like that's the mechanism that we pay attention to. And in the workplace, we don't realize for a bit until these kinds of discussions, or until things aren't happening that we think should according to our effort. It doesn't necessarily happen the same way. It's not, you don't have someone watching out for your best interest, saying what does this person deserve and advocating for you. So that's what we have to do for ourselves. So essentially I think it's just a blind spot. So why don't we do it? So outside of it being uncomfortable, then we'll get into that. It's just outright a blind spot until it's highlighted for some reason.
So we're raised to believe that our hard work will get noticed and rewarded on its own merits and its own effort. And if you're quiet, you sit in class, raise your hand, that's when you sort of get acknowledged and rewarded.
Right.
And I think it's tricky too, because studies have also shown that we have this gender bias we face in the workforce as well. So there's that likability conundrum, which is we're raised to believe that girls should be likable. We should be quiet. We should not rock the boat. So we face this conundrum in the workplace, or this bias, this unconscious bias. If we're anything other than that, it may be perceived as being negative. So the issues we face, there's a lot. They're vast, and we're not going to tackle them all tonight. But what we are going to talk about is that idea of self-promotion and developing your own personal brand so that you can talk ahead. Because if you don't talk, it's like Rachel said, if you don't talk about it, it's not that people are ignoring what you're doing or not paying attention or anything else, but it's just not on their radar. So I have no idea, I do have an idea what Rachel's doing because I've talked to her and I've asked her, but generally somebody walking down the street or one of your colleagues, you might not have any idea what they care about, what's important to them, what they're passionate about, successes that they've had, because you don't even think to ask. And in order to get that promotion, to get that opportunity, to work with that client, you have to get on people's radar. So you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable with self-promotion. So
right. and the understanding that people are busy. It's not even like they're not paying attention because they don't want to pay attention to you. People are in their own heads, doing their own work. They're in their own lives. They need it. You're helping someone making decisions and determining who's the best person for a project if you present yourself in a certain way and say, I'm interested in that, I'm qualified for that. And that just the importance of not holding back. There's actually a stat I wanted to share, which is there's this study done where the phrase, I determine my own worth and it's my job to get paid what I'm worth. 85% of men agree with that. They determine their own worth and it's their job. And only 17% of women agree with that statistic. So after this, it's not going to be you, but it's our job. It's our job to get paid what we're worth.
And to ask for it.
And to ask for it, yes.
Yeah.
By
Actually,
asking for it.
I was reading the book that you got the stat from because
Yes.
you recommended it to me when we first started this
A good one.
discussion. And it ties very much into what we talk about with how to negotiate flexible work, is that if you don't ask for it, people don't know that you want it or that you're interested or that you care about it. So it's that idea of just asking for it in the first place and having the confidence to ask for it, because some people, they just, again, don't have any idea that you might want it or be qualified for it. So if you're just joining us tonight, I'm here talking to Rachel Weinstein about how to develop and promote your personal brand and get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So let's start. You've helped many clients get comfortable with self-promotion.
Sure.
Where do you advise them to start? What's step one? Step
one is understand what you're promoting, right? I mean, so even before getting comfortable with it, is understanding what is in your best interest. There's a wonderful book that I'm going to recommend. I'm sure you'll post it. It's called Brag. And inside this book, Brag, she has a bunch of questions, calls it a Take 12, I believe. Take 12 self-evaluation. And I'll read a couple of the questions. These are prompts just to remember about yourself. It sounds funny, but I always say to my clients, we don't recognize or remember that our ordinary is extraordinary. We're just like, oh, yeah. I climb Mount Everest. Doesn't everyone do cool stuff, right, in their 20s?
I don't climb
Mount Everest either. But for example, a couple of these questions, and again, the link to the book will be here somewhere, but what would you and others say are 5 of your personality pluses? What new skills have you learned in the last year? What education have you completed and what did you gain from those experiences? How do you spend your time outside of work? Like these types of things.
Sorry, I'm just going to mute.
Are we okay?
Yeah, we're good. I'm just...
but these kinds of things, it's thinking about what do I think, and it helps to speak to someone else also, but what do I think would help round out the impression of me so that people understand from those kinds of stories and prompts and just knowing background about you, what's interesting about you, what you might have in common with others to join a team, let's say, or something that demonstrates ambition or interest or being a self-starter. Like these types of things have many, kind of like when we study for interviews, when we get really good at answering interview questions, it's like answering interview questions without the interview questions.
Right.
So it's without being prompted. How do you fold these things into conversation? And what should people know about you that demonstrate really preferable, interesting, positive qualities? And
it's actually a really interesting exercise, one I've just gone through. I had to write a bio. So it was, how do I know what I'm good at? I know what I'm doing, which is great. I have a job description. I have a passion that I'm working on. But how do I know what I stand for and what I'm really good at? And I went through this exercise by just talking to a couple of the colleagues that I work with. I talked to my husband. I talked to my family. And I went through LinkedIn LinkedIn actually, and I looked at all the recommendations and pulled out the things that sort of really were consistent themes. So I think some things intuitively, yes, I think I'm really good at that. But to see it written down gives you the confidence that other people have said this about me. Okay, so how can I translate that into a bit of a story as well?
Exactly.
So it sounds to me almost like the first step is really solidifying your personal brand or what you stand for.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think also if there's something specific, you have to get clear on what do you want. And sometimes you don't know exactly what you want, but if there is something that you can say, and I really want, so whether that's a role or to be more involved in this aspect of your work, something that you're striving for, start from there and build around there to kind of make the story meet in that place. Does that make sense?
So almost develop a strategy to go after what you want, making sure that you're communicating your personal brand to the right people at the right moments. Strategically?
Yeah, I mean, so sometimes it's not about, you could say, well, I'm happy in my job. I don't really want anything at this moment, but that doesn't mean that you shut off the speaking about yourself.
Oh, okay.
Because you never know where the opportunities are. You never know, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So you don't know what kind of project is brewing in the background, and they're looking for someone to take care of, to head up, to contribute to the team. So don't, just because you're happy where you are, don't get comfortable and say, like, I don't need to promote myself or my accomplishments. But specifically, if you do want something in particular, you have to start planting the seeds, because you never know
when the opportunity might come up.
It could be like, you meet your cousin's new boyfriend and they say, what do you do? You're just like, I'm a consultant. Anyway, like, what did you do this weekend? You've just missed a huge opportunity, because you don't know what he does.
No, but I feel like I do that personally all the time, is I'm like, oh, they don't really care what I do, right? Like, oh, yes, I'm sure, but and it is something like, even as you're talking about this, yes, I have a personal brand, but even as you're talking about it, I'm getting uncomfortable with talking about myself, right? Saying, well, I'm doing this, or downplaying it in a way that is actually not really important, because I'm sure if you position it as not important, people are going to also view it as not important.
100%.
So how do I get comfortable with the idea of talking about myself and talking about what I'm great at? Do you have a couple of tricks or tools or ideas for how to make it more natural and not feel like I'm bragging or promoting myself?
I think one of the things, so this is my scare tactic again, like if you think back, if you sit back, people think the worst. That was what I mentioned before. Like that's kind of like the get uncomfortable, but with being invisible. That's kind of like the fear-based motivation. But the other piece is about if you put things out there, if you speak about yourself, there might be opportunities to help someone else. There might be opportunities to learn something about the business that you're in. So some of the tips I give my clients who are really uncomfortable about the language around tooting your own horn, because no one wants to be like that person who, like, all she does is talk about herself, or all he does, like, that's, I know, one of the big barriers. No one wants to be that person. So a couple of the kind of the tricks of the trade in terms of language is, first of all, asking lots of questions of the other person, because the more back and forth in conversation, they will ask questions. Like, you don't have to do the whole elevator pitch all 12 sentences of your story, because that feels weird, right?
Yeah.
But if you start a conversation, start asking about each other's businesses and what are the challenges, and that's really interesting. Oh, I have something like that too, and this is what worked for me. And I was just overseas also doing it. Like, the more you're in conversation, the more opportunities. Every sentence, every back and forth is an opportunity. So asking lots of questions of the other person.
And it's actually,
please.
It's also something we talked about in the negotiating flexibility as well, and how to network. And when you're networking, you don't just go in and talk about yourself. We recommend that you go in and be of service. Go in and listen, and go in and be of service, be helpful. So if you've done something that is relevant to what the person's talking about, make the connection, be of service, be helpful.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I think the other thing is just kind of like a little language pointer is, you can be humble. You can take the big hoopla presentation out of it by just saying, like, I've been so fortunate to work with so many interesting clients, or
Right.
you know, like I'm always grateful for the flexibility that this kind of job affords me. But you know, just like any entrepreneur, I'm constantly running because I'm try to keep my contacts, and
You're an entrepreneur.
particularly with the big organizations, they have special demands. Like all of a sudden, you learn that I work for big organizations. Like it's all kind of interwoven. But I think that if it comes from a place of like, you can still do it humbly, I think,
and with natural curiosity, it sounds like, as well, because I think you can always learn something from other people. So you do get that element of learning from them, and they are learning from you, that sort of mutual thing. And I think also it's about, as you're reading people, and some people might not want to talk, and that's fine too. You don't have to force it or push it or do that. And I think it's really important what you just said too about, you don't want to let other people, by being quiet, you don't want to allow other people to make assumptions or control your narrative, because I think that's where you can get in a lot of trouble as well. So if you are quiet, or people might just assume that you're disinterested at work, or that they might assume you don't really have passion in an area. But if you can control that narrative, I think that really benefits you in sort of deciding your own opportunities and where you want to go next, and who gets exposure to that.
Can I share a little story?
Please.
A few years ago, so I have flexibility in my work, and I'm uptown and downtown and seeing clients and Skyping with clients and all over the place doing my work. But I, as often as I can, get to pick up my kids from school. And it was just a couple years ago that I was having a conversation with another mom who I'd seen for a long time, years at the school, and I said something about coming from a client, and she said, "I didn't know you worked."
Right.
Right? Yeah. So, wow. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know, I should have been. I'm very conscious about all of this in the business world and in a setting where should be networking. But, okay, like that's, it's not like she thought the worst of me. It's not a bad thing to be a mom who stays at home and does on her children. It's just, like, what a missed opportunity.
Right.
I didn't know what she did. I'm standing around literally waiting in the cold for 15 minutes with these people every single day. And, it's not like I need to do a big hoopla of a network, but, if they kind of knew that this is how I help people in the workplace in their careers, it just plants a tiny seed.
It's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the other things that we talked about before with the way that we view self-promotion, instead of viewing it sort of as, I'm talking about me, I'm so great, I want to tell everyone how fabulous I am. And it follows along the themes that we've been talking, but it's not about the self-promotion so much as visibility, just awareness. So that makes it easier for me to think about as if I'm just making myself more visible, if I'm just increasing the awareness of some of the great things I'm doing, I could help other people. I can do more things, which benefits more people. So it's not just about me, it's about everyone. And just,
for sure, it's
a mind shift of thinking it's not selfish. It's just almost a step in my career ambitions, or it's a practical step, a practical tool that everybody should be doing.
I think you can even think of it in steps. Like if making a big deal about how accomplished you are is kind of like 5 steps up. The first is like, can I say, do most of the people I have contact with know what I do?
Right.
Know what I do, know what my skills are, right? And then like the next level will be like, and somehow can I slip in that I'm really good at it, right? Like you can actually tier the effort or the practice, and so to make it, just a little more palatable in terms of trying it out if you're not one to naturally self-promote.
Okay, so now we have our brand. We've got our personal brand. We're very clear on what we're good at, what's important to us, where we want to go. What we enjoy. Yeah. We know that we have to do it. We've got a shift in mindset. So how do you go about increasing your visibility within your organization? How do you actually do it? How do you increase the visibility of your brand?
I think you just start to look at things like everything as an opportunity. So I'll give you one of the most basic lost opportunities outside of it.
Besides the one that we already heard.
Yeah. Well, I was yeah. Well, everyone talks about the elevator pitch. I mean, that's really kind of obvious and almost cliche, but there's something to be said for it. Like if you're standing in the elevator with someone that you kind of know, strike up a conversation. But one of the pieces of low-hanging fruit, I think, is like, those when you're sitting around a boardroom and you're just doing maybe an update with your team or an update with the boss or whatever that kind of status meeting is. And you're going through just tactically like, done, this is the status. There's an opportunity where you are given the floor, because it's always harder to make conversation than make a conversation where there isn't before. But again, if we're talking about kind of the first tier of this, someone says, how is it going? Instead of just being like done, in progress, there's something about we've completed this and we're really happy about how it went. And, a joke about, well, and next I'm sure we'll take the product national, or or giving credit to the team and hoping that everyone gets an opportunity to see how great it's been. And let me forward, we did really well. I would love to forward you some accolades so you can understand how it's being received by people. Like, just make it bigger. Like, just take that opportunity and scale it. Make sure that if it's something done well, that people know that this is something significant and it's done well. Or, yeah.
So if you're a natural introvert, I'm just thinking of some maybe concrete examples that might help people too. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to throw a few out there. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I think
and throw down
nothing's wrong. There's no wrong.
And if anyone has any suggestions as well, or things that have worked for them, please jump on it and add your thoughts too. But things like writing an article or a blog about, or a case study on something that you learned, something that you work on that you think other people would benefit from. So that's that be of service, but sharing, but also saying, I overcame this hurdle by doing X, Y, Z. And then that way you're not standing up in front of a room and talking, but it's something more, I don't know what it's, you still get the reach and the visibility, but it's not necessarily as hard to stand up and as if you were standing up or saying something. So I was thinking something like that is a good way or a good place to start.
Absolutely.
Or over the water cooler, I think you had in a blog you wrote recently was another opportunity as well, just to say, hey, did you hear about, or
something's going well.
Or I heard you were struggling with that client last week. How did you get on with that? I had something similar, and this is how I overcame it. Or
absolutely.
Okay.
Or to share, my past example was about sharing accolades, but like you could speak it out loud and say, people have thought this has gone really well, and kudos to the team, but also to forward something on. When you get an email that says, thanks so much, this has actually turned out really well and really helpful, you can forward it onto the team, CC your boss, and say, thanks guys, this is amazing. Like, so it's kind of like, it doesn't always have to be you speaking. Anything that you get from someone else that you did a good job, make sure it goes out there, it gets out there.
So one of the questions I wrote down too is I work with a lot of women who have their own business, consulting business mostly, and it's actually where I am too, running my own business. But do the same sort of strategies apply for promoting your business or your service or your consulting? Is it sort of the same strategies for promoting your business as for getting visibility within an organization?
I think, there's not as many times when you're as a sole proprietor anyway, where you're in a room specifically
talking to your boss,
right? There's the boss. But there's, like, my rule of thumb is see every interaction as an opportunity. If you go through these take 12 questions in this brag book, and there are things that you're really proud of, or that others is objectively like a source of pride for you, and people in your professional network don't know about that and would really think it's cool, or would really like light up to know about that about you, I think that's something worthwhile that you should figure out how to share.
Like taking you back to when you were 12 years old and you got that A+ on your...
Not quite that, but like, I had a client, for example, who she had climbed Mount Everest. Okay? Right. That was like something that she mentioned, I don't know, in one of our sessions. And I was like, how is that not on your resume? Like, I know it sounds, she's like, where would it go on my resume? Like, put mountain climbing and under the interest. Like when
you like a challenge.
When you're in an interview, when you're in an interview, she's going for a marketing job, it's unlike, I'm at a different stage than I was last decade. Last decade, I was climbing Mount Everest, but maybe now I'm looking for the Mount Everest of marketing roles, because I'm always looking for a challenge, and like it's cute and it's memorable, but it's true to who she is.
And interesting, right? It's a conversation started.
And do you not look at someone different when you know they've climbed a mountain?
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like
a very big mountain.
Maybe there's something I'm not seeing. Right?
Yeah.
So those types of things that you're proud of and you think people should know, make sure that key people know about it.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, we're talking to Rachel Weinstein about how to develop and promote your personal brand. We've talked a bit about solidifying what that brand is. We've talked about how to change your mindset to get more comfortable talking about yourself. And we've talked about some strategies on how to do it within your organization or externally to your organization. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to throw them in the comment box. If this live stream is finished, you can throw them in anyway, and we watch it and can feedback on it. There's no silly questions here. We're all in this together, so please feel free to ask anything that you feel is relevant, and we'd be happy to get back. So I just want to finish up with a couple of more questions. Is there a way to build your brand, online or remotely? So how could you do it from afar? We talked a little bit about internal blogging within your organization, but are there other ways to promote your brand both within the organization and externally?
Absolutely. I mean, outside of being a social media brand in itself, which is outside my realm of expertise, if you're a Instagram model or something. That's a whole other kind of branding.
I am not an Instagram model.
You're not. Go figure. But in the majority of professional realm, it could be about when you read a cool article, forwarding it to people who benefit from it, right? So they know, like, again, the story is she's reading and on top of industry stuff. Like she's interested in this kind of thing. And also builds that relationship. I find, you mentioned LinkedIn recommendations. You were looking at yours. I find that extremely important and powerful. Because it's someone else talking about you. Like, you don't have to say those things. Someone else is saying you're great. And you're like, I don't know. They said it. You don't not confirm or deny, but it's there and it's in writing and it's like, it's solid. And there's a trustworthiness of someone else saying it for you than you having to say it for yourself. So that's a ask for recommendations as a low hanging ask for it. They have that if you don't know where it is, it's like ask for recommendations. You have a pull down menu of the people that you're connected to. And they have some suggested phrasing, actually, even.
It's fantastic. It's super easy. Yeah.
Yeah. And, my phrasing, actually, as I replace the standard phrasing, I just say, as you might appreciate, word of mouth is invaluable in my profession, and I'd so appreciate if you could share some of the kind words that you mentioned in our last session. And that's like, people are like, sure.
Of course I can.
Of course I can. So LinkedIn is sharing articles. I'm trying to think of anything. Blogging, kind of like, I fight with myself on that because, I go through a spurt where I do it often and then not as often. It's the same as the sharing article, except it's your own content. So, it's a little bit of insight into what you're thinking about and how, some unique thoughts as well as what you're reading. I think those are some key, again, happy introvert kind of ways to it works for the introvert and the extrovert,
right?
But it's those touch points. Again, it's like a virtual conversation. It's a single back and forth that allows someone to say, like, oh, thanks for this, and how's it going?
Right.
It just gives you one more
touch
loop.
Point.
Yeah
Fantastic. Well, if you have any questions, again, throw them up now, but maybe we can just wrap this up by, asking, can you offer any key pieces of advice or tips for success? So do you have sort of 3 takeaways that we can walk away with here?
Totally. I think one is tell a story. Like, stories stick. So
Right.
It doesn't have to be an elaborate story, but a throw-in sentence. Like, if your go-to is you climbed Everest, or your go-to is something crazy that happened to you last year that inspired something you're doing at work. Like, make sure that you're telling it. If you don't have it, create a story. Because even if you're promoting yourself and you're putting out the list of things you're good at and all of those things, it's forgettable. So something to give it some substance, some richness to it that people will remember about you.
How do you pull it together? Yeah.
How you pull it together.
Pull it together.
The second is you might have to fake it. So you might have to think of, like, what would my mom say? How would my husband talk about me?
My mom is my biggest advocate,
Right.
actually. She tells all the neighbors and all her friends. It's great. Thanks, Mom.
Your mom understands what you do.
She does.
That's awesome.
Kind of.
My mom kind of understands what I do.
Love you, Mom.
But that's, like, you have to, there is I say fake it till you become it, right? The more you say it, the more you will get feedback of someone saying, like, oh, that's so interesting, hopefully. Sometimes they won't, and that'll be the end of that. And sometimes you'll have these conversations, and the more of those conversations that you have where people are genuinely interested, it will feed itself. So a little bit of fake it.
Right.
Be willing to do that. The third is, I'm going to go out there and say a typically female thing. I hope no one gets too angry about this, but we're really good at being grateful for all we have and saying, like, this is enough. I have the basics. I have healthy children. I have what I need. I don't need more. Like, I don't want to be greedy. Those are really convenient, amazing sounding excuses, to be honest, right? It doesn't make you greedy to want to make what you deserve, to want the challenge, to be considered equally to someone else with the equal credentials to go on something additional. So watch out for that guise of settledness and gratitude, and I don't want to be greedy, because it's really kind of a keeping you small.
I feel
mechanism.
grateful that they gave me the flexible work, so I don't want to push my luck by asking for more money, or I don't want to push back on the amount of work that they
or do I really need more money? Like, we're fine. Like,
right.
It's kind of like not the point. You should get what you deserve. I think everyone can agree that makes sense.
Yeah.
You should get what you deserve, and you may have to advocate for. You will have to advocate for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank
and
you.
I think
this is fun.
We had a lot of fun developing this live stream, actually. So I found it very interesting. I did a lot of reading. I got some books recommended from Rachel, which some I've read, some I haven't. But I have a couple of worksheets and a couple of resources that might be helpful. Rachel's got our book here.
Should I show it?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a real... Wait, where am I?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So that is Brag, the Art of Tooting Your Own Horn Without Blowing It. The one I read was Ask For It. Do you remember who the author was on that?
Leschever. Leschever.
Yeah, I found that really interesting. And it's how women use the power of negotiation to get what they really want.
Yeah. And it's got kind of worksheets, like exercises in it. So it's a good one, right?
It's really good.
Yeah.
And I have a worksheet here from the Sassy Boss about how to master self-promotion. It's a worksheet, as I said, but it walks you through how to frame your story and look at what you're good at and stuff like that. So I'll post these links down here too. And also, I'll do the promotion here. Rachel doesn't have to do this part, but you can also ask Rachel for some help as well.
For sure.
She is, again, a certified executive coach and works with women on their strategy for this. So I've heard nothing but good things about her. So feel free to reach out to her too. I'll pop her LinkedIn profile in the comment box.
There's also a blog I wrote about self-promotion.
Yes.
So maybe you can put that.
I will also link
there
that,
too.
and there's going to be a lot of links coming up here. But as I said, if you're at the end of this and you've missed it, you can go back and watch it. We'll be posting it up on our channel here. But also ask your questions. So even if you're watching this when we're not live, we will come back and answer them. Both Rachel and I will be able to feedback onto this and answer your questions. We're really just a community here of women trying to help each other progress in their careers and their life ambitions. So we know everybody's version of success looks a bit different, and we just want to help you
Absolutely.
In a community collaborative kind of way. So ask your questions, and we'll do what we can.
We're kind of doing we're kind of coming at it from both perspectives, because we're both female entrepreneurs and moms, and hopefully helpers to the community. So yeah.
So great. So
thank you for the opportunity.
And enjoy the rest of your evening.
Take care.